tonight we are delighted to have Dr. John Demartini with us this evening. And Dr. Demartini was diagnosed with a learning disability and was told he would never read, write, or communicate. Now that's a pretty vicious sentence.
I would say that really is a vicious sentence.
But that's indeed the kind of upbringing that he had to evolve out of. And he dropped out of high school to surf the waves of Southern California. Well, that's the early story. Today, Dr. Demartini is a philosopher, an author, and a top-rated chiropractor. He used to have a chiropractic clinic, and now he consults with other health professionals and speaks and writes on subjects of personal transformation. Some of you may remember seeing him in the internet movie The Secret. He also is a prolific author. Far cry from having a learning disability, I would say.
I think so.
And his Hay House title is Count Your Blessings, The Healing Power of Gratitude and Love.
I love that title.
Oh, it's a beautiful book. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And there's other book titles along the lines of The Breakthrough Experience and How to Make a Hell of a Profit and Still Get to Heaven.
Ooh, I love that too.
So, Dr. Demartini, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. We are delighted to have you and your amazing energy with us this evening. And you know, for our listeners, I'm sure many of our listeners are already familiar with you, but for those who aren't, how did, we read a little bit of your bio. Expand on that for us.
Well, I was told, as stated when I was in first grade, that I would never be able to read, write, or communicate, never amount to anything, never go very far in life. And I believed it at that time. I truly did have problems with learning, and I wouldn't have made it through elementary school if it wasn't for the cutest girl named Martha Rose Scartozzi, who was the brightest girl in the class, and a few other friends who I learned to ask questions to in order to survive elementary school. In other words, they would be the great readers, and I would ask them questions what they got, and I would survive by kept asking questions. I learned that the quality of my life was based on the quality of the questions I asked.
Well, that's a great insight.
And so I made it all the way through school until elementary was over, and then my parents moved to Richmond, Texas. I was born in Houston. And when I moved there, I didn't have that team of people, and I was in a kind of a low socioeconomic area, and I didn't have any real scholars there to make it through school, and so my little tactic didn't work, and I ended up dropping out and failing and falling out of school. And I was in sports instead of academia, and surfing in Texas wasn't the highlight, so I moved to California and hitchhiked out there, and then eventually made it to Hawaii where I wanted to surf.
So now I'm loving this story. I really am. And so as you're leaving and you said, okay, I'm going to go back to California and surf, and then I'm going to make it out to Hawaii, which of course is surfing nirvana, what shifted for you?
Well, I was just a long-haired hippie 60s surfer guy, living on the streets until I made it to Hawaii, and then I ended up living on the North Shore, surfing, North Shore waves.
Sure.
And I was expanding my conscious through natural means, if you understand.
Oh, absolutely.
And what happened is I ended up with strychnine poisoning.
Wow.
And one of the plants there, the Hawaiian baby woodrose plant that I was consuming, which added color to my surfing experience, had strychnine with it, and I accumulated it, and I almost died. But everything is a blessing, and so I realized that process led me to meet a woman who found me in my tent, almost dead, which led me to a little health food store to kind of recover, which then led me to the opportunity to meet Paul Bragg, who is a man who impacted the world with natural healing and fasting and the power of the mind. And I had the opportunity to meet him and actually attend one of his classes on the North Shore of Oahu one evening, and that was the beginning of a turning point in my life because he helped me identify what I want to dedicate the rest of my life to. And 34 years ago when I met him, I decided that night after listening to him speak that I wanted to dedicate my life to something like he did, to be a great teacher, healer, and philosopher and travel the world and step foot in every country in the face of the earth and share my research findings on body, mind, and spirit. And God, 34 years later, here I am.
Well, what a beautiful manifestation that is.
Well, indeed, and from what I've seen of your travel schedule, you pretty much have fulfilled that dream.
Well, I made a commitment that I was going to step foot in every country, and I've spoken in 52 countries. I've been in, I think, 86 countries traveling. I just keep working on it. I haven't got them all, but I'm still working on it, and my schedule probably demonstrates my neurosis to that, but that was my commitment, and I just made a commitment to do that, and I've been blessed to share with, radio or television or books or seminars or live things or whatever, over 1 billion people. So I keep working on it.
Well, that's a beautiful, beautiful manifestation. I'd like to share for our listeners a quote from one of your recent books, and it reads like this: "No condition, illness, or disease exists that cannot be helped by the pure energy of gratitude and unconditional love." And that's Dr. John Demartini in his book, Count Your Blessings, The Healing Power of Gratitude and Love. And I just want to underscore, because this is certainly congruent with things we teach in our community as well, is that the energy of gratitude seems to open us up to life's blessings. And you're applying this in particular to healing.
Well, I always say that gratitude and love is the key that opens up the gateway of the heart. And inside the heart is love. And gratitude and love, without a doubt, are the most powerful and most integrative forces, feeling forces that we have. It's been shown that our immune system rallies when we have that. It shows that our body and its water and its molecules and enzymes become organized. I could go on and on and on for probably days on just the significance of gratitude and love. I've said that there are 4 cardinal pillars of healing: gratitude and love of the heart, and certainty and presence of the mind, which leads to inspiration of the mind to soul and enthusiasm for the mind to body. And those states, without question, organize and bring, in a sense, not a cacophony, but a symphony to the orchestration of the body. And I brought it down. I was blessed. I wrote a 2-volume set called Mysteries of the Living Cell, and I looked into the very intricate biomolecules and enzymes and down to literally the subatomic world of the cell. And unquestionably, in a human body, when we have those states, the most amazing cascading of enzymes and molecules organize themselves and bring homeostasis and balance to the cell and allow the maximum potential expression of that cell if we're in that state. So I'm a firm believer in it. I've seen it. I've watched literally miraculous things change in people's lives when they have that state. So I just know. It's a knowing state.
And the knowing state is truly a powerful state. As a cancer survivor myself, the one thing that when I review your story and listen to your sharing, I hear the passion in your voice, and I also hear in you this love for what you are doing and the gratitude that you are able to do it. And so I'm reflecting back to your comment about meeting Bragg and moving forward. Now, so I'm curious, when did the energy of gratitude and unconditional love really start manifesting for you?
Well, I was introduced to it by my mom when I was 4. She was putting me to sleep, and she said, "Son, make sure you count your blessings. For those who count their blessings receive more to be grateful for." So that was sort of ingrained into my psyche. And I think because I was born on Thanksgiving Day, that had an impact.
Absolutely.
And also, it really started hitting home when I started doing what Paul Bragg told me to do, that every single night reflect on what you experienced and don't go to bed with yesterday into tomorrow without thankfulness. And I came across another teacher back when I got into my 20s who is a gentleman who had 6 PhDs. He was 35 years old. He's an amazing guy. And he was the one who had studied philosophy and theology and physiology and many other healing arts. And he was the one that said in an elevator one time, he says, "Do not go to bed without saying thank you for every moment of every moment of your day."
Yes.
And then he says, when you go into the next day, you start your day with gratitude. So I have been doing that really since I met Paul Bragg. I have probably the largest collection of things to say thank you for than probably anybody I know. I keep it on my computer every single night. Before I had computers, I had it on index cards. I keep records of everything that occurs in the day that I can be thankful for. This radio interview, this teleconferencing, right now is going to be in there. That's part of it, as the opportunity to be able to share with more people to reach my objective of people around the world.